A great man once said, "There is no such thing as too much power." That man invented a training device that changed climbing forever, the campus board. Hey, this is Bryan with some more Bomber Beta. I'm making a multi-part series on how to build a training routine for climbing, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified the next time I release a video. Just to be clear, I'm not a trainer, I'm just sharing my personal experiences with training for climbing. So if you guys can afford to get a trainer, I would highly suggest you do so. Wolfgang Gulich invented the campus board while training for what would eventually become the world's first 9A, Action Direct. There's some famous footage of him doing mono campus pulls on there. It is absolutely insane. But this training device is found in almost every gym today. And it's just amazing to see the impact that one climber can make on the entire climbing community. Now, I don't suggest that you guys start with mono campusing or honestly ever do it at all unless you get to that extreme elite level of climbing that Wolfgang was at. I'm going to go over a few basic tips and tricks and tell you a few types of campus board training that I've personally done and I think can help you guys gain a ton of power. This is far from an exhaustive list of what you can do with the campus board, but here's a few tips that I used to gain a bit of power in my climbing. First being ladders. This is quite honestly the simplest way to train on the campus board. It's simple. You start on the bottom rung, you go up one, and then you go up the next one. Same as you would climb a ladder, but instead we're on the campus rungs. You can do this a lot of different ways. You can even go up one and match it and then go up the other one. Match, go up. You can dial this in based on your difficulty level that you feel comfortable with. So it's a great way to start out. You can go as high as you want. You can just do one move and drop. Anything you want to do, this is a great way to get into it, and it also can be a good warm-up to get it going before you do some of the more intense exercise. The second exercise I'll be talking about is bumps. This is also a fairly simple one that can either be really simple or really intense. So you'd start on one rung, you'd go up with, say, your right hand, and you'd keep bumping your right hand up the rungs until you can't bump any farther. Then you would repeat it with your left hand. This is really good for gaining some explosive power, and you can obviously dial this in based on what you're comfortable with. So you can start by only going up 2 or 3 rungs, and then you can go all the way up 5, 6, maybe even 7. So that's a great way to kind of get that explosive power and some contact strength to catch those on some of the higher ones. So if you guys struggle with doing dynos, a great thing to do is doubles. So that would be starting on a rung and dynoing to the next rung. This is all done without your feet on, so it can be very intense on the upper body, but if you're not used to it, it can be very useful to get that really explosive power in your upper body and learn how to use your lower body, your hips, your core to actually project yourself upward, which can help you do a lot of dynamic climbing moves. One of my favorite exercises on the campus board is max reaches or single dynos. That's going to be where you start on one rung matched and you do as much as you can in a single move with one hand, catch it, latch it, come and match, and then drop. Doing it again with the other hand. This is a really great way, and it's fairly typical movement of how we would do very large moves on boulders and sport climbing routes. So it's a great way to train and also to get ready for the next one, which is the ultimate goal. So the holy grail of campusing is to do a 1-5-9. Now, if you're not familiar with campusing at all, you probably don't know anything what I'm talking about. So traditionally, the rungs are numbered between 1 and 9. A lot of times they'll have half ones in between. And so you'd have from going from 1 to 5 and then locking it off and going up and snagging that top 9th rung all in one fell swoop. Now this would be like an elite level of fitness when you're campusing, and if you guys can achieve this, you are well on your way to sending some really hard climbs. You can obviously do lesser numbers here. We can do, the simplest one would be 1, 2, 3, but you can do 1, 3, 5, you can do 1, 4, 7, and you can do anything in between as you work up to that ultimate 1, 5, 9. Now, do take this into consideration. That's an extremely intense exercise, so make sure you really build up to it before you start trying to do that. Do some of the other ones that I mentioned before to try to kind of build that foundation before you try to go for these really crazy lock-off and snatches, so you don't end up injuring your shoulders or your fingers or anything like that. Now I'm going to go over a few safety considerations when campusing. Generally a good idea to go with the more open-handed grips as opposed to the closed-handed grips. Generally just because the campus rungs don't really offer good support for closed hand crimping, and also it just puts a lot of pressure on your pulleys. That can just probably lead to potential injury or at least a tweak that's going to put you back a little bit. You want to make sure to warm up really well before you do any campusing. If you go into it cold, you can definitely get injured, and you won't really get the benefit of going at your max effort if you're not warmed up and ready to go. You want to take a long break in between sets, preferably over 2 minutes. Some might be different depending on exactly what you're trying to do, but you could easily rest up to 5 minutes in between some of these really intense max effort campusing and be totally fine and well rested and honestly get a better workout overall. So you want to be very careful when you get to the top of a campus board, not to just drop and hit the mat. That can be just really rough on your knees and lower body, and some of these campus boards go up very high. Preferably try to down climb. If you can't go down the actual rungs, sometimes the very top can be a jug that you can then traverse and find a better kind of hold set to go down. So just be really careful with that, and don't get injured. Don't get a lower body injury while training campusing, because that just would really suck. So I know a lot of people are going to wonder, which size campus rungs should I use? And I would always suggest using the larger rungs over the smaller rungs until you feel super comfortable, and then if you find it necessary and make this decision on your own based on maybe your peers or a trainer, if you get in touch with them, to go down to the smaller rungs, because that can be very intense on the fingers. You'll get huge benefits from doing it on the larger rungs. Start out there and then move down to the smaller rungs if you see it fit. So to structure campusing into a training routine, I would say start out doing it twice a week. I think this is a good way to kind of get a good feeling on kind of how you're fitting it in. I wouldn't suggest doing it right after doing something intense like hangboarding, because the fingers need a little more time to recover in between all that. So on a typical kind of 4 workouts a week schedule, you could do hangboarding one day, then the next day campusing, rest, hangboarding, campusing, rest. So that can be a typical way to do it. You might want to start out with even less than that, maybe doing 1 hangboarding, a rest day, and then campusing, and then another rest day, just to make sure that you're really comfortable with what you're doing. We don't want to push ourselves so hard that we end up getting injured or overtraining and then ultimately putting ourselves back. So be careful with that, but it's definitely something that you could do 2 times a week if you're at the level that you need to build that power up. Guys, remember, there is no such thing as too much power. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Go ahead and subscribe so you get notified the next time I release a video about training. I'll catch you guys in the next one.